A recent vote in the European Parliament has rattled the world's financial markets. Legislators from all over Europe have formally endorsed XRP as the foundation of Europe's digital liquidity framework, with a vote of 547 to 3. What's even more astonishing is that a goal valuation of $50,000 per coin was legislated. This is now officially confirmed, not just a rumor or what if. The ruling has been codified into statute. The European Union has decided, and XRP is the coin of choice. It was a clear victory. The tone was nonpartisan. Nobody had a problem with it. Almost everyone agreed. With one vote, all the main political factions in the European Union, conservatives, Greens, centrists, and reformists, approved XRP as their official liquidity reserve. The data shows that there are 547 supporters and only 3 opponents. How about those 3? They were short-lived. There was a 48-hour window between the vote and their resignation or official dismissal from the committee. It was an unambiguous message. Political suicide awaits anyone who dare to oppose the emerging digital framework. Debate has its day in the past. Digital liquidity has entered a new era. It is necessary to go back to the months of secret talks in Brussels in order to comprehend the circumstances surrounding this vote. In the digital finance package, the EU has been covertly experimenting with RippleNet connectors for quite some time. There was an abundance of data from the experiments. There was no lag time between transactions, transaction fees were negligible, and the system could scale better than any existing financial system. After much deliberation, the technical committees decided that XRP's ledger could sustain a continent-wide banking system. It wasn't a matter of whether Parliament would pass the final report when it reached them. It was the rate of change. A provision in the European Digital Liquidity Act, EDLA, set an official goal valuation of $50,000 per XRP, shocking even financial insiders. None of this was random. Experts in European financial engineering determined this as the level of support necessary for the number of cross-border payments and reserve coverage within the Eurozone. Money was not the motivation behind the $50,000 number. The focus was on practicality. At that price, XRP can safely replace the US dollar in international trade settlements, eliminating volatility risk. Parliament authorized a new financial reality, not only a cryptocurrency. Now let's talk about the 3 people who were against it and were called traitors by the media. By advocating for the dollar's and legacy system's continued use, they exemplified the final vestiges of opposition to the digital monetary change. Yet, following the referendum, inquiries exposed extensive financial links to US-based hedge funds and lobbying organizations that were against European financial autonomy. Their credibility completely vanished in a matter of days. After under pressure to quit, one member of the Budget Committee did so, while the third sought refuge in private banking. There was no mistaking the story. Politically, Europe would eliminate any obstacle to its digital sovereignty. Prior to the vote's conclusion, the implementation schedule was already in motion. As part of their Phase 1 implementation, the central banking systems of Germany, France, and the Netherlands will implement settlement frameworks based on XRP. As the industrial heart of Europe, Germany will serve as a fulcrum for trade settlement corridors via Frankfurt, linking Paris, the French capital, and Rotterdam, the Dutch port city. They are now the new backbone of instant cross-border value transfer in Europe, and they are known as the tri-liquidity axis. In the second stage, Southern and Western European integration will be expanded to encompass Italy, Spain, and Belgium. Including the nations in the Nordic and Eastern European regions, Phase 3 will link the whole European Economic Area. More than 450 million people in Europe will be using a monetary system backed by XRP when the implementation is complete. Whether it's a buy of coffee in Berlin or a settlement of corporate bonds in Milan, every transaction will go through Ripple's ledger at some point. To date, this has been the most massive shift toward digital currency. The Citizen Allocation Program, however, was the part of the law that really got people pumped up. It promised an initial distribution of XRP to every adult European citizen. Simple is the plan. Every individual who signs up will get a digital wallet that is already loaded with 5,000 EUR worth of XRP based on the $50,000 price. It's evidence of involvement in the new monetary order, a wealth transfer, and a stimulus all rolled into one. Starting with France and Germany, the rollout will eventually cover the entire European Union, EU, in around 6 months. There is strategy behind these citizen rewards, not merely symbolism. In order to smooth over the change from the paper-based euro liquidity system to the digital one and guarantee broad adoption, lawmakers designed them. An interactive feedback loop is established when all citizens are granted a stake in the system. Banks are obligated to store XRP when it is spent by citizens. Banks that hold XRP have it stabilized by the government. The value becomes increasingly stable as a result of government stabilization. This is continental-scale financial engineering. Technical integration is now progressing at a rapid pace behind the scenes. In order to connect the XRP ledger directly to the Target 2 system, the primary settlement platform in Europe, Ripple Labs and the Innovation Department of the European Central Bank have been working closely together. With the next upgrade known as Project Echelon, the ECB will be able to use RippleNet's institutional nodes to clear transactions directly. Thanks to this, the ledger is now an integral part of the European payment system. No, the long-awaited digital revolution is not just around the corner. This is occurring right now. There has been a cascade of worldwide effects as a result of the vote. U.S. politicians are taken aback on the other side of the Atlantic. The European Union's move marks the start of a new monetary alignment, challenging the dollar's decades-long reign as the world's reserve currency. Many South American, African, and Asian nations are already working on laws to follow what some are terming the XRP standard. Dozens of central banks reached out to Ripple's European office for technical assistance in the hours following the declaration by the European Parliament. Before the current financial system falls, everyone is racing to connect to the next one. According to economists, this is the biggest transfer of wealth that has occurred in the contemporary era. Europe reimagined digital liquidity as a kind of national and now continental riches by legalizing XRP's $50,000 valuation. Individuals residing in Europe who possess XRP will have assets that are directly linked to the value of the new reserve system. As trust moves toward the XRP-backed system, however, holders of fiat currencies, especially the US dollar, may see their purchasing value erode rapidly. Suddenly, everything has changed in the European media scene. News outlets in the Netherlands, Germany, and France report. New benchmark, XRP. Viewers see people using their new digital wallets on television. National efforts are being launched by banks to inform the public about the change. With the latest update, all of Europe's leading finance apps now support XRP payments. The European Union's official economic policy is now based on what was before seen as a digital asset for speculation. This dramatic change was not an accident. A long time has passed since it began. Numerous legal frameworks, pilot projects, and strategic alliances between Ripple and European banks set the stage. The 547-3 vote just marked the unveiling of the covert plot. Many thanks for joining us. Please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up if you found it entertaining. Furthermore, if you would want to be notified as soon as I publish new content, you should enable alerts. I can't wait for our next video to finally meet up. Be cautious.